What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Cardone Corner. This is me, Samuel Arms, your amazing co-host on behalf of Gary, who is in the Bahamas this week, enjoying life, catching fish. So that is right. You guys are stuck with me just another day. I believe Gary will be getting back tomorrow or the next day, whenever he so pleases. We do have our Twitter Spaces tomorrow at 5 p.m. I do believe Gary will be there. So if you're looking for some interactions from Gary, you can do it tomorrow, Thursday at 5 p.m. But today, because I have your attention and I'm hosting the show, we're going to talk about politics again, because that is my specialty. That's what I enjoy. And today's a special day because this evening at I think 8:30 p.m., I'll have to pull it up and share the screen with you guys. But there is a Crypto for Harris town hall, essentially meant to convince the Bitcoin and crypto community that Kamala Harris is a pro-crypto candidate. Is that true? No, I don't think it's true at all. And I'm going to walk you guys through some of the logic and reasoning, not only behind why Kamala Harris is never going to be a crypto Bitcoin friendly candidate, but also why people are trying so hard to give her the perception or the appearance that she is. On the call, I think I just saw it announced, and I can pull up. There's a Twitter page for Crypto for Harris, actually, believe it or not, because a lot of this is supposedly grassroots activity. Crypto for Harris, I think the account was created maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe less. Let's see, Crypto for Harris. Yeah, there it is, easy. And I'll pull up and share my screen with you guys. But this is kind of important. Oh, it went from 200 followers to now they got about 2,000 followers. So that's pretty interesting. But they have on their roster that U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is going to be joining. It's funny because I know somebody at her office. He's actually very awesome. Rep. Dan Goldman, Rep. Stephen Horsford. But I don't think Kamala Harris is actually going to be on the call, which may be telling in and of itself. But I'm going to walk you guys through a pretty cool Twitter thread from this guy named Alex Thorne. So let me share my screen with you guys. But Alex Thorne, I believe, is the head of research at Galaxy or Genesis, one of the two. And he did a little bit of investigative digging on the people that Harris would be choosing to essentially lead her crypto policy if she were to be elected. And this is important, guys. We have to remember people are trying to treat Harris and Biden, especially the media and Democrats, as two separate entities, which makes no sense at all. Why does it make no sense at all? Because Kamala Harris has been in lockstep with Biden's policies. The people who have been influencing Biden, surprise, are also the same people who are influencing Harris. There may be some nuance there. There may be some slight differences in the power struggle, but as we will go through this Twitter thread, which I think is very excellent, you're going to discover, wow, the old boss is same as the new boss, right? So I'm here to essentially give you the facts. It's not going to be my opinion. I'm going to give you some facts on what we're seeing with who Kamala Harris would be choosing to advise her on crypto policy. And then we're going to get into what some of her motives are and why some big players in the space are trying to, quote unquote, be bipartisan and tell you that Kamala Harris could be good for crypto. So let's look at this. So Alex Thorne, new evidence that Kamala Harris will continue the crypto crackdown. Her advisor choices suggest she will keep Biden's hostile attitude to crypto. Harris is working with Brian Deese and Bharat Ramurthy, two key anti-crypto officials from the Biden admin. Hey, A1. Hey, Fibaswamy. Hey, Knoxville. Fibaswamy, you're right. The answer is hell no, she is not. She is pro cloud storage. Just look it up. Our files are just hovering above us. That's right. That's right. They are. They're all just in the cloud above us. You know what's sad about that, Fibaswamy, by the way, is I think the general populace probably believes that. A1, Kamala could have been for crypto for 3.5 years. And what did we get? The SEC and high tax bills with crypto unrealized gains being pushed and anything pro crypto vetoed. People are pretending that the vice president all of a sudden has zero power. Okay, let me just, anyone who tells you that the vice president has zero power, why is Biden not running for president right now? Because he's incapacitated. The dude can't do anything. So who do you think's been running the show? You're telling me he's just now mentally unstable? Biden's been mentally unstable for 3.5 years. What does that tell you? That tells you Kamala has probably had more influence and more power as a vice president in this administration than any other administration, because the current guy running the show can't even talk and is not even fit enough to run for office again. It's very simple logic. So people trying to do these mental gymnastics to try to defend Kamala are gaslighting you, and it's terrible. So new evidence that Kamala Harris, blah, 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 already read that. Harris is working with Brian Deese and Bharat Ramurti. So this is the thread. Harris plans to unveil elements of her economic policy agenda in a mid-August speech. She's hired a top Treasury Department official, Brian Nelson, as an advisor, while also relying on longtime allies. When you hear longtime allies, you can just think establishment people, such as former policy chief Rohini Kasuglu and a trio of outsiders, Mike Pyle, her first economic advisor as VP, and Brian Deese and Bharat Ramurti, two former Biden economic aides, is helping polish a refreshed economic pitch, drawing on the Biden and Harris records, people familiar with the planning say. Great. So we got people from the Biden administration helping Kamala Harris. What does that tell you? Oh, and helping polish a refreshed economic pitch, drawing on the Biden-Harris records. So the Biden-Harris records are anti-crypto, crackdowns, SEC, Gary Gensler, Elizabeth Warren. So that right there, off to not such a great start. We got some intel on the Harris campaign's current posture on economic policy and who they're working with. From some Bloomberg business reporting this morning, Deese and Ramurti are two key architects of the Biden admin's anti-crypto crusade, including Choke Point 2.0, which, by the way, when you still bring up Choke Point 2.0 to some people, they still tell you that it's completely made up. Ayn Ryan. Is that Ayn Ryan? Is that supposed to sound like Ayn Rand? It's all speculation. Bitcoin is going to continue to rise irrespective of what politicians decide. They may affect the rate rise, but BTC will BTC, not interested in other crypto. I know that opinion is technically correct, but I always think it's stupid for anybody not to focus on politics, because as long as you're living in a nation state or a country in general, politics do affect how you live, what's going on. I mean, if you want crypto and Bitcoin adoption, yeah, you probably don't want to see unrealized gains taxed, right? So simple things like that. I don't want Bitcoin mining to be banned or, not useful in the United States. So will Bitcoin survive without Bitcoin mining in the US? Yes. Is that what I as an American want to see? No. So of course I'm going to get involved. Harris plans to unveil elements of her economic policy agenda in mid-August. Okay, so I already read that. Let's go to the next thing that he had. Harris supports raising the corporate tax rate to 28% from 21%, the people say, fully in line with Biden's most recent budget proposal, which also calls for taxes on wealthy crypto holders. FYI, guys, if they are pointing out a specific subset of a individual in their plan, that means you're a top target. For them to say taxes on wealthy crypto holders means that they are going to go after you, just so you're aware. That's not just, oh, well, we're going to go after crypto people. We're going to go after people in oil and gas. We're going to go after people for their tips and in the service industry, in the medical industry. No, it is not completely normal to target specific groups in a specific tax plan. Normally, they use broad overtures so that they can kind of finagle in different ways who they're actually going to go after. This is pretty revealing. They're going to directly go after crypto holders. There are no plans for Harris' campaign to announce sprawling new policies, such as on cryptocurrency, the people say. The overall direction hints at something of a live and let live approach toward Wall Street, tempered by a continued antitrust drive and prosecutors' itch for enforcement. Prosecutors' itch for enforcement tells me, oh, we're going to let Gary Gensler continue to do what he's been doing. Under Harris, the short list for Treasury Secretary is expected to come from the same as it was for Biden. Once again, continuity between the Biden-Harris administration. National Economic Council Director Lyle Bernard, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, Deputy Treasury Secretary Wally Adeyemo, and Chief of Staff Jeff Zients. Are all candidates people familiar with the matter? Say Harris has worked regularly with Adeyemo in particular on some economic initiatives such as funding minority leaders. This shows you the priorities. I mean, hopefully by now, really, this is a long Twitter thread. By now, you should kind of get the point, though. Like, I should not have to actually continue going through this, but I'm going to. But you should already get the hint. This is the Democratic nominee for the president of the United States. Does any of this at all make you feel bullish for the Democratic Party as far as Bitcoin and crypto goes? To me, personally, not really. So Deese, who is going to be the economic advisor, helping write her policy, famously wrote a blog on the White House website, the administration's roadmap to mitigating cryptocurrency risks on January 27th, 2023, just a little bit over a year ago. Not that long, guys. The blog claims to support, where'd it go? Oh, here we go. The blog claims to support innovation, but casts the whole of their crypto policy through a fraud and risk mitigation lens. One thing that is important to understand about how media works and about how government works is when these policy proposals are pushed and passed, you have to look at the phrasing and the framework around the document. So, for example, if an entire document is based off the thesis of mitigating risk and fraud in an industry, that tells you that the current government in power views this industry through that lens. Now, you may look in the document and go, oh, well, there's actually some positive things in there, which a lot of people will try to do. But you're missing, what is it, the forest for the trees or the trees for the forest, whatever the saying is. The fact of the matter is that the administration puts the framework of a negative concept saying it is a risk, there is fraud, as the major sticking point of their research, of their agenda. That's what's important to know. So Kamala's potential economic advisor and planner on policy comes from the framework that cryptocurrency needs to be mitigated from a fraud and risk perspective. Not a great sign. Harris Advisors Brian Deese anti-crypto White House blog was published on January 27, 2023, that very same day. The Fed, that also same day, rejected Custodia Bank's membership. If you guys are on here and you're keeping track of what's been going on with Caitlin Long and kind of her war against the Fed in denying her a master account for her Custodia Bank, all over the fact that she's trying to be a pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin bank, you should check it out because all of this is related to what's going on. Let me read A1. They want to only have crypto controlled by corporations and private custody illegal, along with 45% taxes and unrealized gains. I've read the plans they have. Yeah, I think that's actually very, very spot on, A1. The Democratic BlackRock establishment's platform, correct. Trump will lead the crypto world to the promised land. Chris, I believe that's true. Both parties work for the same bankers, Ripe America. I think that's a stupid view. Of course, you're always going to have establishment power, but I don't buy any doomerism anytime someone's like, oh, you can't make a change, is because they've never put effort in making change and have never seen that come to fruition. Sam, thanks for going over this. I've told people in crypto about some of this and they ignore it. Well, a lot of people want to ignore it because either a lot of people in crypto actually don't vote. So a lot of people in crypto just think voting is a waste of time. And we see that in our chats all the time, which I think is a huge mistake. And then a lot of people in crypto just want to focus on the bag and don't want to be politically involved. But these are important conversations. And it's our jobs, by the way, if you want to stay an informed voter. I mean, this is literally going to affect, if you're in crypto at all, the industry for the next 4 years. Because what the president does, what the president is able to do through arms of enforcement is incredibly important. Let's keep going through this, guys. Now to Bharat Ramurti. He worked under Deese at the National Economic Council. The two probably met at Yale Law, where they overlapped in the 2000s. Get this. And has extensive experience working for Senator Elizabeth Warren. And we all know Elizabeth Warren is the friendliest person to crypto and Bitcoin. So I'm super happy that there's all these Bitcoin crypto people advocating for Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris is choosing economic and crypto advisors from Elizabeth Warren. Like, how hard is this? This does not have to be a 2 + 2 = 5 scenario. They're telling you what they're going to do. And these people are far more important than, oh, you're getting congressmen to talk, Democratic congressmen to talk about their pro-crypto agenda. Congress is huge, and there's only a few pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin Democratic congressmen and women. They're going to be overshadowed, as they have been right now, by a strong presidential administration, depending on the stance. And even so, even if Democrats in Congress are able to work with pro-Bitcoin Republicans, if the president's going to veto it and push back, like, the Democrats have a very top-down order, right? They don't really go against party lines. So just more evidence that the people, I don't think, are thinking this entirely through. Yeah, so look, he worked. That's just evidence that he worked for Elizabeth Warren, is what we're going over. Isn't that great? Warren for president. Super, super awesome. Guys, 2013 to 2019 senior counsel banking and economic policy for Elizabeth Warren. Like, what? Do I have to keep selling? Like, and this is all, I'm giving you guys this information. There is a Crypto for Harris meeting this evening, right? And we're clearly going over what the Crypto for Harris strategy actually is, right? Does this look positive to you? I don't think so. Fortune describes Bharat as the White House's top crypto critic. Leo Schwartz reported that it was Ramurti who intervened to block the stablecoin compromise between Patrick McHenry and Rep. Maxine Waters in July 2023. So look at that. There's evidence that the guy Kamala Harris is going to be using actually intervened in bipartisan pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto legislation. A1, she's anti-private custody, which is the biggest point in crypto, being in control of one's assets. AB, most people that own Bitcoin does not understand the power behind Bitcoin itself. They only think of it as number goes up. Yeah, a lot of people do only think of it as number go up. A lot of people, it's only an investment for them, which, you know, in one sense, there's nothing wrong with that, because that's just a part of adoption. But then two, yeah, of course, there's a giant underbelly of philosophy behind Bitcoin. I don't know if you guys can read this well, but I'll still read it to you. Ramurti is the type of figure who wields massive influence in DC, but is largely unknown. Well, not anymore. Now you guys know who he is. Outside of the concentric circles of Hill staffers, lobbyists, and advocacy groups who shape U.S. policy, a member of Biden's transition team, an original member of the National Economic Policy, Ramurti came up as a top aide to Senator Elizabeth Warren, joining the Biden administration as one of the progressive wing emissaries. He assumed a broad portfolio in the administration, leading pushes on core initiatives like student debt relief. Mirroring his former boss from Massachusetts, Ramurti also became one of the administration's key voices against crypto. The near passage of stablecoin legislation in the House Financial Services Committee in July has become the stuff of legends in crypto circles. McHenry and ranking member Maxine Waters reportedly had a deal before the White House intervened to block it. The prevailing wisdom is that the call came from La Bernard, the new director of the National Economic Council and former member of Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Ramurti apparently was on vacation, but people familiar with the situation told me that McHenry blamed him for gumming up the process. Ramurti left the White House in mid-September, signaling a new chapter for the NEC. While Bernard remains a clear crypto skeptic, she seems more open to discussions than Ramurti. I 100% believe that there's more of a path forward than there was before, a former White House staffer familiar with the negotiations told me. Yeah, well, I'm not too hopeful. You know why I'm not too hopeful? Because these people don't change. And whoever's pulling the strings and has these people by the leash, stay in power. By the way, Bharat later left the White House and was replaced on the NEC by John Donenberg, yet another former Warren aide. Guys, do you still think there's a possibility that Kamala is going to be pro Bitcoin? Like, does it even matter? By the way, I'm attending the Crypto for Harris call later this evening because I'm really interested to listen in and see how they gaslight people and see what their talking points are. Yeah, I mean, come on. Look, there he is with Elizabeth Warren, just further proof that these people, man. In April, this guy confirming Leo's reporting, saying that it was specifically Dees and Ramuti who intervened to kill the stablecoin legislation. Keep in mind that this bill would have legalized but heavily regulated stablecoins. Right. By the way, the well-known primary sticking point was that Republicans like Patrick McHenry wanted to preserve a state pathway for stablecoin issuer registration, meaning that a state chartered depository bank, a state bank, could be allowed to issue a stablecoin. Democrats seem okay. Oh, come on. There we go. Democrats seem okay with this until Dees and Ramuti's intervention, at which point the Democrats decided they would only support a stablecoin bill if it gave regulatory authority solely to Federal Reserve and national banks. So this actually is a very good point on why the Democratic Party in general has not been very Bitcoin and crypto friendly. And it is because they believe that state rights and state banking specifically should be limited. So when you think, and we can go back to Dodd-Frank, I always say that Dodd-Frank was not an anti-banking bill. I say that Dodd-Frank was an anti-medium to small banking bill. What Dodd-Frank did is Dodd-Frank allowed huge, burdensome regulations to kill and quash smaller banks that couldn't afford them and created further power in the already giant banks that could afford the oversight and the regulation. So Elizabeth Warren has never been anti-bank. Elizabeth Warren has always been anti-small bank, anti-medium bank, and anti-state bank. She's a huge big bank federal banking shill. And that is why Elizabeth Warren doesn't like Bitcoin. That's why Democrats and these people don't like Bitcoin and don't like crypto at large, because what has always been the goal? The goal has always been this mishmash, trying to take back your rights as a sovereign and say, I can be my own bank. Well, if your goal is to just give further power to big banks, of course, you're not going to like the crypto and Bitcoin industry. So the Biden-Harris administration killed bipartisan legislation because it gave too many rights to state banks, which Caitlin Long talks about this. Caitlin Long talks about how we have always had a dual banking system. We have always had a dual banking system. What does that mean? We have federal banks and state chartered banks. They're supposed to be treated equal. But actually, under the Obama administration, we saw that equal treatment start to shift to where state banks got the shoe and federally chartered banks essentially became more powerful and got special treatment. That has continued till now, and that is the goal. The goal is to essentially get rid of the dual banking system, have one banking system, all federal banking, right, and quash the little guys. You guys want to talk about a nightmare scenario of control? We're talking about it right now, right? State banks are incredibly important, especially if you want, I don't know, state sovereignty or, your local communities to grow. Federal banks are not going to give a crap about what city you're in, what your locality or community is. They just don't. All they care about is quarterly reporting in the bottom line and, of course, control. The irony in this, of course, is that on January 3rd, 2023, the Fed and OCC and FDIC issued guidance effectively prohibiting national banks from doing anything with crypto. And on January 27, 2023, 6 months earlier, extended that guidance to state banks. Dodd-Frank gave us family offices. Actually, if that's true, I didn't know if that was true or not. I haven't heard that before. Unironically, Warren has not gone down the rabbit hole. Yeah, for real. Wolf in sheep's clothing, absolutely. Diaz, she is BTC illiterate. Warren is anti-BTC. If they get in and regulate the crap out of it, but they can't stop the train. I'm going to have to disagree. I don't think these people are ignorant on Bitcoin. I really don't. I think they know exactly what it is and what it does, and that's why they don't like it. McHenry and the Republicans couldn't accept that position because they knew that leaving it up to the national banking regulators and Federal Reserve would ultimately prevent any legal stablecoins from being issued, negating the purpose of the bill itself. Another piece of political strategy for you guys is a lot of times bills will be passed strictly for show. All that matters about the bill is the authority it gives to people within that bill for jurisdiction over whatever they're talking about. You see this in immigration, in healthcare, now in Bitcoin and crypto. There will be people who will say, hey, we're passing a bill. Look how friendly the bill is. Look at the language we have in there. But somewhere in the bill, it says, oh, but we give complete regulatory authority to X agency. And they know that once X agency has authority over this industry, it doesn't matter what the bill says, because its authority will trump everything that's in that piece of legislation. So then they can begin to crack down. It's one of the secrets in legislation and in DC and passing bills in general is you can write a whole laundry list of good things in a bill, essentially making them options. But the real kicker of any bill is who does it give authority to? If a bill gives authority to an agency, it's not a good thing, because part of the plan is, well, we're just going to let this agency have its way with this industry, regardless of what bills are passed or what the actual legislation says. And that creates an authority figure. That's not a good thing. You see this happen all the time. But then people will say, oh, well, if you look at the bill, it has good points. Oh, it's a pro stablecoin bill. Why wouldn't we like it? See, Democrats are friendly toward crypto. They're trying to pass a pro stablecoin bill. Well, one, we've already seen that they're not. We're seeing that they don't like state chartered banks. And we're seeing that they're trying to literally centralize the banking infrastructure and give stablecoin authority over to federal banks, and essentially create a barrier to entry for normal, regular people. Does any of that sound good to you? It doesn't sound good to me. It doesn't sound like it's within the ethos of what we want, does it? People are policy at the end of the day. And if Brian Deese, Bharat Rabuti, Wally Adeyemo et al. Are set to lead economic policy in a Warren Harris or Harris-Walz administration, it's very unlikely the administration will soften its stance. This might be actually one of the best things Alex Thorne has said. I'm probably going to steal it and retweet it later, so check out my Twitter. People are policy. People are policy. What does that mean? When you have individuals in Washington who have an agenda and have spent 10 years pushing an agenda, that agenda does not change. So when you appoint those people to positions, when you appoint those people inside your circle, you are stating what your policy positions are going to be. It's not that hard. It's actually incredibly simple. Caitlin Long talked about Bharat's influence beginning at 32:45 on Lawrence's podcast that came out today. Worth a listen. Guys, that's exactly what we're about to do. We are going to give this a listen and see what Caitlin Long had to say. Let me know that you guys can hear this, because I want to make sure that you can, because I think this is going to be very important. Oh, no, I got out of it.
I actually talked to somebody who was at the table.
Here we go.
Who I won't disclose that person's name during that process, and explained to me what has become very clear as time went on and we see the rest of the crackdown on the crypto industry. This was all politically motivated.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unchained, your no hype resource for all things crypto. I'm your host,
Stodia on the Senate floor. What's crazy about all this political coordination and clearly using the press to try to intimidate us was that we'd never met any of the people involved. And I've never met Dick Durbin. Nobody at Custodia had ever met Dick Durbin. We were told by a whistleblower who approached me that weekend after the Custodia denial, who had done it at the White House, a guy named Bharat Ramamurthy. I'd never met Bharat Ramamurthy. How were we on his radar screen? Well, I looked him up. Lo and behold, he ran economic policy for Elizabeth Warren's presidential campaign in 2020. And it is now, there have been a lot written subsequently. It is now acknowledged that he, Gary Gensler, and Marty Grunberg and Michael Barr were locking arms and going after the banks in Operation Choke Point 2.0, as well as all the crypto companies through the SEC, and going as aggressively as possible. And I asked, there were multiple whistleblowers who came forward. I asked that first one, why did the Fed participate? This is supposedly an independent agency. Why were they coordinating like this? And why were they working with the White House like this? And his response was that they were perceived among the federal agencies to be too open to crypto, and that in this post-FTX scrum where the Warrenites were ascendant and some of the pro-crypto people at the White House had left for independent reasons, and so there wasn't anybody to counter Bharat Ramamurthy at the time. Again, this is what I've been told, and it's been confirmed by multiple people. So the Fed had to prove its bona fides because they were afraid of losing jurisdiction to the SEC. And that shooting Custodia was the first thing that they had to do. There's another interesting angle that's related to something in the news. The then Vice Chair of Supervision, Lael Brainerd, who had been, we thought, friendly to the whole idea of this Wyoming charter, I was told she read Wyoming's 752-page supervisory exam manual. Her reputation is she's a detail person, and I believe it. I've been on a couple of panels with her. And she was moving to the White House at that time. And the last thing she did at the Fed was to vote against Custodia's application. And that was all connected to all that political, Washington, D.C. mess. We got thrown under the bus for political and career reasons.
All right. So we're going to talk about kind of the latest in.
I think that tells you everything you need to know, guys. I think that is such a damning response to what's going on with the Kamala Waltz, whatever you want to call it, the Biden Harris Walz administration. I don't know how you walk away from any of this and think that Kamala Harris is going to be pro-crypto, right? Now, if we look, I'll go to the Crypto for Harris page, right? And we can check out what they're saying, right? They're announcing that they have speakers, and see, I follow this page. A grassroots network of crypto advocates organizing fundraising and developing a nuanced crypto policy approach for the Harris for President campaign. Yeah, I mean, is the nuance to be just to be anti-crypto and then just gaslight the rest of us into thinking that they're actually pro-crypto? Like, is that the nuance? Big fan of nuance. We're excited to welcome one of our keynote speakers to the Crypto for Harris Town Hall. Senator Gillibrand has been in the trenches fighting from within the U.S. Senate to advance constructive legislation for our industry for years. What's great is that's true. Senator Gillibrand, she's the senator of New York State, has been a very pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto ally. Where has that gotten the Democratic Party and the Democratic platform? Has Senator Gillibrand been able to help with Gary Gensler in the SEC? Has Senator Gillibrand been able to convince Biden not to veto pro-Bitcoin legislation? What has Senator Gillibrand been able to do? Right now, yes, she's co-sponsored legislation with Senator Lummis. She's co-sponsored some very great legislation. She's been receptive. She has pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto people in her office. But guys, you have to think about the power dynamics. What are the power dynamics? How much power does Senator Gillibrand have? Unfortunately, not enough. Not enough. Not enough to trump a Kamala Harris anti-crypto initiative. As if Mark Cuban, Wiley Nickel, Chris Ferrano weren't enough, we're ready to share another keynote speaker. So all these people are going to be speaking, gaslighting us. Now, what is interesting is Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff. I actually do believe that Adam Schiff is going to be pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto. Why? Because Fair Shake, the pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto super PAC, gave him a bunch of money to win his primary election. So Adam Schiff owes the community, right? We actually did a very good job, and when I say we, I mean the community, of backing Adam Schiff with money to the point where, yeah, and listen, I get the political game. The political game is hedging your bets. Hedge your bets as best as you can and hope that if you're betting on some Republicans and you're betting on some Democrats, if you don't get the ideal scenario, you still have friends across the aisle, right? But it's very clear that to Democrats, the presidential administration leads a lot of the conversation. And you have to remember that Biden has been in politics for so long that all his connections and all his network, which have already been very anti-crypto, are simply going to follow Kamala, right? And Kamala owes Biden because had Biden not endorsed her, there would be an open convention right now at the DNC, at the Democratic National Convention, which Biden was not supposed to endorse her. Obama didn't want Kamala Harris. Obama wanted Kelly out of Arizona to run and potentially be the next president of the United States, right? So Kamala and Biden are still going to be close and tight as far as their administrative policies and their administrative actions go. So I get the game, right? It's not like I'm new to this. I understand why some of these people are trying to reach out to the Kamala Harris administration. Some of them are reaching out to hedge their bets. Others are simply doing this simply because they really hate Donald Trump. And regardless, if Trump is the most pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto president in the world, they're still never going to vote for him. Some people in the crypto world can't stand Donald Trump, and they will do everything they can to tell the rest of you that Kamala Harris is actually pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto, as is their right. But that doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's true. Of course, we've seen Scaramucci. You guys saw Scaramucci on stage with Gary, of course, if you were at the Bitcoin conference. I thought it was a pretty good discussion. And then Gary will be with Scaramucci at the SALT conference in Wyoming and just next week. So, by the way, if you are going to be at the SALT conference in Wyoming, I believe it's in Jackson Hole, Scaramucci and Caitlin Long and a bunch of other people will be there. Gary will be there. Make sure you can DM me if you want to get in touch with Gary if you're there, or just reach out to Gary himself. But he'll be there. But Scaramucci is an interesting person because he really just is one of those people who dislikes Donald Trump. Doesn't matter if Donald Trump is more pro-crypto, more pro-Bitcoin. He's never going to support him. So he's trying to convince the Harris administration, the Biden-Harris administration, to be as pro-crypto, pro-Web3 as possible, simply because of how much he dislikes Trump, which, once again, is his right. And it's completely normal in politics to do so. But the surprise speaker. Yeah, look at that, Craig Wright, the surprise speaker. You guys are so funny. I love Twitter, the entertainment on Twitter. Excited to kick off our final announcement of speakers by sharing that Adela Hanwar, principal consultant, co-founder. Okay, so she's not an elected person. Will be joining Professor Tanya Evans, CEO of author of Digital Money Demystified, and Carmela Cadet, founder and CEO of EMM Tech. Yeah, I mean, maybe these are some good speakers. Maybe these are some reliable pro-crypto people. It's just unfortunate, guys, because regardless of how awesome some of these people are, if the damning Twitter report that I read earlier is true, then none of this matters. It's all just marketing. It's all marketing to get your vote, get your money. At least with Trump, we have Vivek, we have JD Vance. JD Vance is personally invested in Bitcoin. Vivek has always been pro-Bitcoin. Like, Trump doesn't need to get it. But remember, policies are people and people are policies. By selecting JD Vance as your vice president, that tells you if JD Vance is pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto, we're pretty safe, right? Same goes with Vivek. People are policies. Can't say the same for Kamala, unfortunately, and that's just a reality. Mark Cuban should be one of the last people to talk about crypto. Seems he's always gets rug pulled in the crap coins. Yeah, I mean, I think there's some truth in that. Mark Cuban, kind of an interesting character. I can't say I have too many positive things to say about Mark Cuban, but he's made more money than me. So I can't really trash talk someone who's been successful and rich for making more money than me. I kind of can, because I can hate his political views and think he's stupid in some ways. But, respect where respect is due, right? Well, guys, I just wanted to go over that. I know I'm going to end the live shorter, about 10 minutes shorter than we normally do. But I thought this was an important conversation. I'll be attending the Crypto Kamala Town Hall. Maybe I'll be live tweeting it. Maybe I'll be streaming it as well. We're going to see how it goes. See how much gaslighting there is. See if they answer any tough questions, which I don't think they will. And we'll see how this turns out. But in my opinion, ain't no way. Kamala Harris is not going to be the pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin candidate in the past, in the present, or in the future. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go do something nice for somebody today. Don't do it because it'll make you feel good. Do it because you should, right? And don't tell anybody about it. Guys, thank you as always. I'll see you tomorrow.